Hey guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Saturday, May the 17th, 2025. On a very wet Saturday morning. You can probably see my jacket there. I left the house this morning and didn't even give it a thought. It was overcast, but no sign of rain, and here we are. So anyway, it's Neil and I still about half an hour from home, and it's raining. Not too bad. It's actually stopped a little bit now, but there is a drizzle, so excuse that if it gets on the camera or anything like that. But sort of mirrors actually the last sort of 24 hours with the footy team, the Blues. Went to Sydney last night. Looked good for 3 quarters or 2.5 quarters, and then just shit the bed in the last quarter. Isn't it amazing how the fortunes of your footy team can really determine your mood for the rest of the weekend? Definitely takes the gloss off the morning walk anyway, doesn't it? But anyway, there's worse things in life, isn't there? So we sold Johns. Always next week, as they say. Always next week. Although for Carlton, it just seems like it's always next year. It's okay, next year. It's all good, don't stress. They've got all these superstars. Anyway, we'll move on. On this day, I could only actually find one thing today, actually, that happened on this day, which is unusual because normally there's about 10. But in 1989, the great Puerto Rican cruiserweight champion, Carlos de Leon, became the first boxer ever to win the cruiserweight title 4 times when he stopped Sammy Reason in 9 rounds. I was actually say where the fight was, but he was a good fighter, Carlos de Leon. He doesn't really get a lot of love these days. But I don't think he was the first to unify. I think Evander Holyfield was the first to unify. And he did fight Evander for all the belts. It might have actually been around 1989, 1990, something. I think Evander actually went up in 1990, so it would have been 1989. And he gave actually Evander a really good fight. I don't remember him winning the title 4 times. I remember he had it a couple of times, but yeah, that's something I wasn't aware of. I remember him back in the day, and he was the dominant cruiserweight, probably the first dominant cruiserweight, Carlos de Leon. And then of course Evander Holyfield came around and unified the belts, and then went up to heavyweight and did what he did. And I remember even Evander's first fight was against James Quick Tillis, the journeyman back in the day. He was a tough guy. He was also the first guy to take Mike Tyson 10 rounds, so he was very underrated, James Quick Tillis. And I remember him actually coming to Australia to fight Aussie Joe Bugner in, what would that have been? That might have been, I think that was it 87? I think that was when he came to Australia. But anyway, all right. I suppose today's episode is more so about all the big fights that are potentially happening. Lots of rumours and innuendo, and more importantly, actually discussions by the fighters and promoters involved, which is good. So we've got a few there. The first one is the Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn fight. Looks like it'll be September 27th at Tottenham Hotspurs Stadium. I'll say that again. Tottenham Hotspurs Stadium is where it's going to be. So Eddie Hearns announced that looks like that will be the date. Everyone's all excited about that. And look, it probably makes sense, doesn't it, that that's the fight they make. I think the first fight probably exceeded expectations about what we all thought would happen. I think we all thought would be an entertaining fight. I mean, the bad blood between the families and even the fighters themselves. I know it was sort of I think it started as a manufactured rivalry because of the dads. And then as the promotion sort of went on, it just got more heated. Well, not promotion, but the over the years, as they were both fighting, and then they, of course, almost fought a couple of years ago, and that fell over. And I think since then, the rivalry's really heated up, and it really come to fruition at the fight, didn't it? In the fight, because they put on a hell of a war. I think it was over 1 million pay-per-views, which would have made the organisers very, very happy, and that's obviously why it makes sense to go again in September. So I've still got doubts whether Conor Benn can measure up to Chris Eubank Jr. And I did actually tip or select, or whatever you might want to say, that Conor Benn would beat Chris Eubank Jr. I thought, even with the weight difference, I just thought his his aggression, his, well, I won't say his power, but his probably volume of punches, every punch hard. I just thought Chris Eubank Jr., especially after being beaten by Liam Smith, that his best days might have been well behind him, and the younger Ben, even with the size difference, would be able to come over the top of him. But he really impressed me. He fought well, probably better than what I thought he could fight. And I'm not sure whether that was the case of Conor Benn not being anywhere near the fighter we thought he might have been. But either way, look, he did what he had to do. He gave away probably the first 3 rounds to Ben, and then came home and really finished strong, and I thought was, very impressive. And he's in line for a big payday. Another big payday. So is Conor Benn. I know Conor Benn's sort of been calling out everyone lately since the fight. You just got to remember though, Conor, you did lose the fight. Okay, it's one thing to put in a good performance and get paid well and do a big pay-per-view. But the fact is you still lost the fight. So you still got to just stay in your lane just a little bit. Chris Eubank Jr. on the other hand has got so many options. He'll get past this one if he does. And then he'll fight Canelo in May, and lots of other different fights he could probably go for at his late stage, and retire with probably another $20-25 million in his bank account. So good on him. I think these fighters aren't in it for long. So they got to make sunshine. What was it? Or make hay while the sun shines, or whatever the hell they call it. I don't know. But yeah, so that looks like September 27th. The other fight is they're talking about is Teofimo Lopez and Boots Ennis. Now, Eddie Hearn has actually commented and said, look, that is the fight that looks like it's going to be next. It's going to be later in the year. It'll probably be a Riyadh season fight, you would probably think, although I hope not. But that's a good fight, a really good fight. Now, I know probably the easiest thing to do is say, well, no one beats Boots Ennis. He's a good fighter. He's a bigger guy. I think Lopez has got a good shot. Lopez is a very, very good fighter. If you allow him to sort of showcase his skills and give him a bit of room and everything, like, he is a good fighter. I think he gives Ennis troubles. Now, at this stage, I would probably still say maybe Boots Ennis wins the fight, but I don't subscribe to the whole, well, this is going to be, this is an easy win for Boots Ennis. I think we can't afford to get too caught up in the Boots Ennis thing, because still he hasn't fought anybody. And yeah, he beat Stanionis in the last fight, but who did Stanionis beat? And what was his claim to fame? And he hasn't exactly shown he's elite either. I don't think Stanionis. I mean, he's a hard bugger, but he was badly exposed for being an average fighter against Boots. Make no mistake about it, I think Boots Ennis, look, potentially a great fighter, he is, but at this stage, hasn't fought anybody remotely resembling a pound-for-pound fighter, or just being a really good elite fighter, I don't think anyway. Now, he's definitely got the ability, make no mistake about it, but I think a fight with Lopez would be good for starters, but I want to see him go up to 154. That's where I think we're going to see what Boots Ennis has got. I think he beats Norman. If they fight at welterweight, as I said, I think he beats Lopez, although, again, it won't be easy. But I want to see Boots Ennis go to 154. I don't really think there's any legacy fights at 147 for him. And if he wants to be one of the big boys in world boxing and lay claim to being a pound-for-pound fighter, then he needs to go to 154 and start fighting those guys. Because, again, I mean, Ryan Garcia would have been the logical opponent for him. Maybe if he had gotten past Ramiro. Maybe Ramiro's the guy for Ennis. But, again, I still don't think, as good as he fought last week or the weekend before, whatever it was, as good as Ramiro was in that fight, he has no chance against Boots Ennis. No chance. Boots Ennis would absolutely carve Ramiro up. He wouldn't sit back and just let Ramiro take the fight like Garcia did. He wouldn't come in half asleep like Garcia did. And I think he would make easy work of Ramiro. Not to say he'd knock him out early or anything like that. I just think he'd just be cannon fodder for Boots Ennis. I think that's an easy fight. Norman would be a hard fight for Boots Ennis, but I still think Boots Ennis wins that. But again, they're not legacy fights. Lopez is probably the closest thing he's got at this stage around that weight. But if he goes to 154, he's got the winner of Tszyu Fundora. Of course, there's Boachuk. I doubt it's going to be Crawford. Just some really good fighters there. Zayos and Xander Zayos, another one, Virgil Ortiz. Lots of really good fights there for him. I've probably forgotten a few, of course, but Vichalo coming back. So let's see what Boots Ennis does. But there is talk that, yeah, that will be later on in the year, which I welcome. Should be a really, really good fight. I just spoke then about Xander Zayas. He's going to be fighting Jorge Garcia Perez, or Perez Garcia, whatever it is. They're going to be fighting, when was it? I think, it's actually going to be, someone's sending me a message there. So July 27th. No, 26th, I think it is, in New York. So that's going to be a really sort of hot time for boxing in New York, because we've got the doubleheader weekend on July 11 and 12. We've got the girls, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, and a really good undercard on underneath that. Then on the Saturday night, we've got the big four at Louis Armstrong Arena. And then this fight on the 26th, so 2 weeks later. So, so look, I think Xander Zayas wins that fight. And I just think that, I've just called it a gut feeling. If Xander Zayas wins that WBO belt, or whoever wins really, I think the winner of that will fight the winner of Tszyu Fundora too. Again, just call it a gut feel. But I think just with the planets aligning and the fighting around the same time, and with the WBO, WBC aspect, of course, Tszyu Fundora fought for both the belts the first time. Fundora's just given up the WBO belt. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the fight that's next. And especially if Fundora wins, well, whatever, there's some more big fights for him. But I tell you what, just for Tim, that would really give him an opportunity to shake up the division and stake a claim, wouldn't it? I'm not getting ahead of myself here, by the way. Still a long way to go to beat Fundora, but yeah, if he can get past him and then potentially fight Zayas or Perez, all of a sudden, 2-belt champion, and all of a sudden he's back to where he was. So, and with some really, really big fights ahead of him. The other one is, well, we've been talking about it for a while, but with Naoya Inoue and Junto Nakatani, I was going to call it the hype has started. Probably it's not pretty much the hype, but there has been now a bit of back and forth, because Nakatani is saying he pretty much wants Inoue as soon as possible. He doesn't want to beat him. He thinks he will beat him. Of course he does. He doesn't want to beat him. And then people saying that Inoue was past his peak and too old. And Inoue's fired back and said, well, I've got more than enough at whatever age to beat you. So it started, which is exciting. They're talking about May 2026, but what a fight that'll be. Still some unfinished business. Nakatani's got to beat Nishida. That's for is it WBC? It's for another belt. Is it the IBF belt? So that's a unification fight. I think it's coming up soon, isn't it? And then, of course, Inoue has got MJ, and then he's got Nick Ball, and then we should be into this fight. So the biggest fight that Japan's ever had between two of their countrymen. So what's it going to be? A 12-month period. It's going to be. I wish it was a lot shorter period, to be honest. I wish they would almost bypass. Inoue would bypass the Nick Ball fight at the end of the year and fight him. Man, that would be awesome. And the timing's about right too. I mean, Naoya Inoue's just fought. Nakatani's about to fight. Wouldn't it make sense to do that in, like, even if it's not September, do it even October, November, whatever? It would be fantastic. Both guys get a win and then they fight at the end of the year. It'd be awesome. But Naoya Inoue's actually said he's only got probably 3 years left in the sport, which probably makes sense. What is he, 32 now? So it'll take him to 35. And if he really does get past MJ, Ball, Nakatani, there's only really one fighter after that, and that is Jesse Rodriguez. But if Rodriguez is still at super fly, and Inoue is up at 126, so featherweight, yeah, you got to wonder whether that fight will be able to be made. But we can only hope. I'm hoping that Inoue, he goes to he might go up to 126 and come back down to fight Nakatani at 122. Although Nakatani has said himself that if they do fight, or when they do fight, it will probably be at 126. Nakatani will jump straight up to 126. So, but let's hope they maybe do it at 122, and that gives Inoue the ability to maybe go down and fight Bam Rodriguez at 118. It'd be just an absolute super fight. Sort of brings back memories of Salvador Sanchez, Wilfredo Gomez, has those sort of vibes about it. These two little just killers going at each other. It would be magnificent. So that's what's happening at the moment. Now, one thing I wanted to let everyone know is that I have been talking about it for the last sort of couple of weeks, but it looks like I will be going to the States for the 3 fight cards. I'm just sort of getting things organised now. I just thought with the 3 fight cards within a week of each other, it was too big of an opportunity to let go, I'm being honest. I mean, if it had been one card, maybe even two would have probably got me over there anyway, but having 3 big fight cards over there sort of got the fires burning inside about, look, Lyndon, just make it happen. It's not very often you get 3 big fight cards within the space of a week of each other. I know they're on opposite sides of the country. Last time I sort of did this was 2023 when I did the double header. I went to George Kambosos and Maxie Hughes in Oklahoma, and then went across to Las Vegas for Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. And just an unbelievable week that was, or 2 weeks, whatever it was while I was away. Just, I've had 2 just unbelievable trips in the last couple of years, and that was the first one where I know I've gone over this many times, and you've got the vlogs on this channel, but, when I landed in Dallas, drove the 3 hours to Oklahoma. While I was in Oklahoma, of course, was there for George's fight. Went to Oklahoma City, visited the bombing site and the museum and all that sort of stuff, which was great. Then drove to Memphis and did the whole Elvis thing, and then drove to Louisville, Kentucky, and did Muhammad Ali's house and his grave and his center that's named after him, and then flew across to Vegas for the Crawford and Spence fight, which was great. And then the last one was last year with, going to Philadelphia and doing the whole Rocky thing, and then up to Muhammad Ali's training camp in Deer Lake, and then across to Shanksville for the 9/11 Flight 93 Memorial, and then down to Gettysburg, which was unbelievable, and then down to Washington, D.C. to do all that as well. I mean, that was cool. And then across to Vegas for Canelo and Berlanga. So I've been very, very lucky and fortunate over the last few years. But with this one, it'll be the, first of all, it'll be the Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano 3. You might be saying, you're getting all excited about a women's fight. Well, geez, if you're saying that, you haven't seen the first 2. Should be absolutely awesome fight number 3 with a really good undercard. I know it's an all-female undercard, and that's cool if it's not your thing, but I don't care. I love great boxing, and there's 4 world title fights on the card in total, which should be awesome. And Holly Holm on there as well, which I think I said yesterday or the day before, I met her a couple of years ago, and really nice person. So it'd be great to see her back, and to have 4 world title fights and Holly Holm on the same card will be just something. And that's in Madison Square Garden, the big room too. We're not talking about the theatre here. This is the big room. And I looked at the tickets yesterday. There's not a hell of a lot left. So they've got this all-female card that has, or probably will by the time it comes around, have sold out the main stadium, the main room at Madison Square Garden, which is an unbelievable feat. So to think that women's boxing has come all this way, I know they did it in the first fight, but to do it again, I think it's fantastic. And then on the Saturday night, so that's July 11th, July 12th will be the Edgar Berlanga, Hamza Shiraz, Shakur Stevenson, William Zepeda, Iman Kataev and David Morrell, and Puelas and Sabrina Matias will be the 4 fights. That's at Louis Armstrong Arena that's out in Queens, which is a little bit of a drive out. It's nearly a 40-minute drive out of the city, which I'm not overly happy about, but it is what it is. So that's on the Saturday the 12th, and then I'll probably make a couple of little sort of stops before going to Vegas. A couple of little things on the bucket list I want to sort of see just over the next 3 or 4 days after that fight. And then I'll head across to Vegas for Tim and Fundora 2 and Pacquiao Barrios. So, it should be exciting time. So, just on the Berlanga and Shiraz card, can you believe that that's actually the main event? I thought it was I was sort of joking, or not joking, but maybe it was just they'd got the promotion wrong or something when they announced it. But I'm not sure how Edgar Berlanga and Hamza Shiraz can be a main event over Shakur Stevenson and William Zepeda. It is bizarre, but that is the way it is. So I don't really care what the order is. Maybe I'll leave after the Stevenson-Zepeda fight. I don't really want to give Berlanga too much. I think he's a is, as I think I said yesterday, the biggest flog in the sport at the moment, but with Jake Paul the close second, of course. But yeah, so it should be good. So I'm heading off probably on the 8th of July, which is a Tuesday, I think it is, and I'll be gone for a couple of weeks, and I'll do that, and of course bring you all the videos or vlogs, whatever you might want to call it, along the way, and take you along with me for the trip. So looking forward to that. So guys, well, that's going to do it on this very soggy Saturday. Hope you have a great day. We'll catch you tomorrow.